Hello and welcome to the Pink Hair Girl podcast. My name is Sally Jane and it's really nice to be with you again. So it's already into February. um, and I think last time I was telling you about the Christmas knitting I was doing. I managed to get most things finished. I didn't finish the geek socks, which I really knew I wouldn't actually. He's just very long suffering enough to wait until I had done everything else. But they are finished now, and I tried to look for them. I'm not sure where they are, so he may well be wearing them. See, sorry, my yarns. But I will put a picture in of them. And I know that they're actually the colours of an area in Canada, but they go quite well as sort of first year in England socks too. They are white and red and blue, so they seem kind of apt for me just having moved to England now, first sort of Christmas in England and all the rest. My worry that Caleb's socks may not fit was actually founded. They didn't fit quite right, which is fine because Titus has taken them on and has decided that those are for him now. And I have promised that I'll make Caleb some more socks. I have enough of the yarn left. I think last time in the beginning I was busy knitting on the socks that I was making for a friend's son, and they were a 6-ply, so I guess sort of like a sport weight. They weren't quite as thick as DK, but there is enough left. I'm almost sure to make Caleb a pair of socks as well, so I'm going to do that for him. Rachel liked her hat and she tends to wear that a lot, and so all of that was fine. I also squeezed in a hat that Rachel knitted for her stepmom, which I think was pretty big of me to knit Rachel's stepmother a hat. But anyway, I knew that Rachel would just never get it done, so it was a green hat. I'll put a picture in of that. And I finished a hat for a friend of mine just after Christmas. I think I showed you. I did a light blue rubies in my pocket, which I think is what I showed you, and then I made a grey rubies in my pocket for a friend of mine that visited just before Christmas, and then I finished. There was a brown baobab, lightish sort of brown colour not skipping stones. Was it skipping stones? I think it was the skipping stones hat in a kind of a light brown, and I finished that for a friend of mine. And neither of those I took photos of, unfortunately. So, and what else and then Rachel gets Reynards, and I think I spoke last time about whether it was worth doing Thrummed mittens, and people had said it was worth giving it a try. So I did. I didn't get them finished in time though. I was using some brown DK that I had. Or it might have actually been a bit thicker than DK. Let me just see if I can find. No, of course I don't have the yarn label in here. I think it's actually a worsted weight. Anyway, and then I used some of the... She's got quite a lot of this. This is the Countess Ablaze Geeks Like Rainbows 2 that she has to spin, and she has spun some of that. And so I made these Thrummed mittens for her. I think I might have made them slightly too short, as in the fingers, but I mean my hands are longer than hers at the moment, and she could just sort of, pull it up a bit, I guess. If it was for me, I think I would have needed to make the top a little bit bigger. Anyway, so basically with Thrummed mittens, what you're doing is you adding bits of fleece, these tufty bits, in to make a kind of a warm layer inside, and they really are very, very warm. because Rachel's hands go very, very red and sore if she's outside and it's particularly cold. So I used the Thrummed mitten pattern. I'll have to put it in by who it's by. It is one where there was a mitten course on Craftsy, and this was one of the sets of mittens that you got in that. I'm not sure if you can buy the pattern as a standalone. Not sure. I'm not sure if you could buy the thing as a standalone as well. Anyway, so these are not difficult to do. They're just a little bit time consuming. And I had really hoped to get them finished before she left to go to her dad when they went for Christmas, but I didn't. As you can see, I got one, and then that was as far as I got on the second one. And there are different methods to doing the thrums. And you just have to, I just watched a couple of YouTube videos and then did the one that seemed easiest to me. And then, as I say, it makes a little thing over the stitch itself. So it makes the little stitch V, and then inside is the rest of it. So it's a little bit like that, a little tuft like that, and then it actually makes the stitch on the outside. So I think these are quite warm. If you put them on, they are actually very warm. They do make your hands quite toasty. And I think that the sort of pink and different colours goes quite nicely with the brown. So I need to finish these. I sort of lost momentum a bit on those, but I need to get back to them. I kept thinking, oh well, it'll get warmer, but apparently we're in for the coldest or the longest cold spell into February and March or something. Something about, I was reading, some warm air, that doesn't feel like warm air, pushing in at the North Pole. So the warm air is coming into the North Pole and it's pushing all the North Pole's cold air down onto us. So Scandinavia and us, and I think Canada and places like that have had particularly cold weather recently, in February and possibly into March. And that is my very unscientific, non-meteorological explanation for why we're having a load more cold weather. Because before this, actually, it was quite mild. Just after Christmas and into the beginning bit of January, February, it was actually not bad at all. And then we've suddenly had this rather cold snap now. So anyway, I should probably get back onto those, because if we're still going to have the rest of February and March, she may well want to use some Thrummed mittens. Now this bag I got in a Christmas mini skein swap that I did, and this was from Mary and the Mats on Instagram. And I got the bag, and then I got mini skeins each day in a little on a ribbon, and then with little pegs was fabric Christmas stockings. You should make Christmas stockings. Cut out all the 24 Christmas stockings and then stitched them, obviously. And then the mini skein of the chocolate was inside this whole thing. There is a picture on Instagram of that as well. And then on Christmas Day, I got this bag and some chocolates. So this is a lovely, and it's all padded and lined and all the rest. And it's got toadstools, and it stands up quite nicely by itself. And this has got Rachel's mittens in it at the moment. And then after Christmas, I mostly finished the geek socks. And then I started, my friend Sharon said, let's do a little sock knit along together. So she got us the yarn, and it was, again, the label's in my label book. It was called Zazzle, I think. Zazzle Angora sock yarn. So is it Angora? Yes, I think so. Or is it mohair? Not too sure. I'll have a look at the label again. Anyway, so I've made one here. There's on the foot, you can see without the pattern. And then I just did a that garter rib. I've made socks for the geek with this before. So this is just my own pattern. I did a a sort of a version of the rounded toe, and then I did the garter rib all the way, added the fish lips kiss heel, then up the leg I started the pattern, and then a twisted rib along the top, and a stretchier bind off because I found that I've been binding off too tightly on my socks. And I've mostly only been knitting these when I go out. So they've been in my bag, and they tend to be my sort of going out socks. And I'm nearly finished the second one, as you can see. Let's see how much I've got to go. So there's about that much, oopsie, that much left, and a cuff. So that's not so bad. So those are the socks that I'm knitting at the moment. Yes, there are still 2 other pairs of socks that I've got on the needles that I need to finish. So I need to dig those out. Ooh, I think there might be 3 actually. Anyway, so that is the socks that I've been knitting at the moment. These are the other socks. And I've done absolutely no more on these than when I showed you last time. This was the speckled space socks, and those are at the same place. And the other ones are, this is just pure laziness because I just need to wind the other skein. These are my Kama Sutra socks by Mustache Yarn that Sally gave me the yarn, and I think we were doing a knit along on these in like September last year. And they are finished. I did the boxy toe for these, or square toe. But because you get 2 skeins that are identical, they're the OCD ones. So each skein, if you wind it up, you'll start at exactly the same point. I just need to wind it, and I'm being lazy. And if I just wound it, then I could knit it. But, you know. Anyway, so I really need to do that. And then get those done. And then I have 1 more pair of socks that I need to frog back, and I haven't done that yet. So anyway. Right, so those are the socks that I have been knitting. Then over the sort of when we've been going for walks and stuff on the weekend and over Christmas time, the geek realised that he's only got a sock weight hat. I think he's got a Cape Point in grey hat. And he was finding it wasn't quite warm enough, especially over his ears, if it is very cold outside. So I said that I would make him a thicker hat, and I did. I thought I brought it with me here. Oh, I'll have to go fetch it in a minute. Hold on, let me find out what I did with it. Okay, so I made him, I think this is also worsted weight. This is a John Lewis yarn. And I made just a 2x1 rib on the bottom, and then I used the pattern that I had done for the Schrödinger socks that I had made for him, the little boxes, and I made it in a bigger scale. So there you can see this is a square. If you look across there and down, and then across there, that becomes a little, so half of the square is garter stitch, and half of the square is stocking stitch. There you see, there's the, oh, it's very hard going backwards, and that's the garter bit, and this is the stocking stitch bit here, and this forms a little box. And so if any of you know the geeky thing, or the thought experiment of Schrödinger, it's about whether the cat is dead and alive. So this is sort of half and half. So anyway, and this is a bit thicker, and so that is going to be his hat. And then there's the sort of the pattern integrates into the decreases on the top. So that's the hat that I made for him. I still need to write up a pattern. It's very simple actually. If anybody is wanting to test a very simple quick hat, let me know, because that should be going up quite soon. So that's the Schrodinger's hat. Schrodinger's cat hat. Anyway, so that's the hat that I made of the same sort of, and I think it's a nice, it gives it a good texture, but it's warm, you know, there's not any holes or anything, and it's not cables, so it's not difficult. And that's that. So that's a hat that I did recently for him, and mostly I've been knitting on the socks. Then the other thing that I started, I kind of got on the bandwagon because there are a lot of people doing the Zwig, is it Zwig? Zwig sweater. This one. Let me show you the back picture. This is obviously not in colour, just printed out my pattern. So it has a, it is a yoke top. And you start with the main colour at the top here, and then you do some colour work triangles there, and then you do the lace pattern here, and a bit of colour work at stripes sort of over there, and then you start the body of the sweater, and the body has some little textured stitches in it as well. So the body of my sweater I'm doing in a Nurturing Fibers Superwash Merino, and I can't remember what this, I think it was called the Truffle colorway. I think this was Truffles. So it is on your, or on the screen as I'm seeing it now, it's showing quite a lot of contrast between the more grayish brown and the more sort of reddish brown. The contrast in person, or in real life as they say, is not quite as strong. This is showing quite a strong contrast, and in person it's really not quite as strong as that. And then I used the yellows left over from my So Faded sweater to do this, and I sort of started to run a little short, so I added a couple of rows of pink everywhere now and again just to get enough yarn to get to the end. So it's actually quite a lot brighter than you're seeing on your screen. I will try to fix that in the editing. Anyway, so there's the lace bit done. I've split off for the sleeves, and I'm now on the body bit now. Because I was going to run out of the yellow, I frogged it and added some pink, and then it was too much pink, and I frogged it again. Not the whole lace, but I frogged up to about here twice. So I got nearly down to the end and frogged this bit. So I've reknitted that lace twice. And then on the, I tell you sometimes, and then on the body, when I had done the first textured sort of pattern, again I had read the cable wrong and got round to the time you had to do it the next lot, so sort of 7 rows later, and then realised that I was wrong, so frogged that again. So this has taken me a lot longer than it really should have for a sweater, but I think I'm on track now. In the picture, the sweater is quite cropped, or not really cropped, it's just shorter than I would wear a sweater. I like mine to be at least the sort of middle of my bum. But we'll see. If I can make the sleeves long enough, it's also got quite a lot of positive ease. It's got between 2 to 4 inches of positive ease. Depending how it goes and how much yarn I've got, I may possibly make mine longer. Personal preference, I just like longer sweaters. So this is what I've mostly been knitting on at the moment, has been this, and pulling it out and fixing it and pulling it out. As you can see, there's a lot of yarn to be fixed up in there, of needing to add some colours in to stretch my yellow, and not too much pink, and I had to actually find another yellow to add in, but I think it's sort of worked out. In the end it's going to be okay. So that's this one that I'm working on. What I got, I haven't worked terribly much on this, but what I got in the mail today was quite exciting. I am doing a turquoise wisdom hat for my sister, in she likes all her stuff to be sort of in cream or natural or whatever, but I am holding it double with a lace in a kind of a soft silvery grey colour, so it has a slight, I wonder if you can see it at all. Can you see? Try and focus. You should maybe see the second strand of the silvery kind of colour there. What I'm wanting to do with this is, because it is quite big, and that's on purpose, what I'm wanting to actually do is line the inside, probably with some fleece or something like that, because my sister wants to use it for skiing, and so it needs to be a bit warm. I think that at the moment this is going to be a little bit sort of aerated for a warm skiing hat, so I'm going to put either some grey or some white kind of fleece lining inside there. And then I asked her if she liked this trend of these very big pom-poms at the moment, and she said she did, this sort of fluffy kind of pom-poms. So I ordered some and they arrived today, and now I just need to find the right colour. This sort of, oh, and on your screen it's not coming up very well. This one is actually almost a bit too pink, I think, and this one might be too white. I wonder actually if the grey one will be the nicest on there. I'm not sure. I'll ask her. I'll give her the options. And then, yeah, that'll be a hat for her. And then I think I might make a matching sort of cowl neck warmer thing, the similar type of stitch and pattern and stuff. I am not sure if I'll have enough lace to do the cowl with the same grey in it. I might have to find something else. And then I'll also again line that with fleece so that it would be quite warm for skiing. She's just been on her skiing holiday, but she wasn't here before she went there. I'm only seeing her in the summer. So I will make this ready for her to go on her next, when they go skiing again next year. So yeah, I need to get on with that. Now that I've got the pom-poms, so I've got quite a few things. I need to finish Rachel's mittens, I need to finish my sister's hat, and some of these socks off the needles after I finished my sweater, before I'm really should be allowed to knit anything else at this point. But these are quite nice. I ordered a pack of them. There are some brown ones as well that have the sort of contrasty, can you see that there? Sort of the contrasty dark bits on the top. And then the pinkish ones I think I showed you. And then there's a grey and a darker chocolatey brown over there as well. So I think those will be quite nice. I can use them for various things. As I said, I wanted one for my sister, but then just ordered a pack because then I could use them for various things. And it comes with a little doodah, elastic thingy. And I think what I will do is put a button on the inside of the hat and then just thread it through and button it on. And so then she could take it off if she didn't want the pom-pom on at that particular time, and then she can put it back on if she wants it on. So that's the plan with those. Of course, now I want to put pom-poms on all my other hats as well. So that was that. I know we didn't, I mean, it seems a bit silly to talk about Christmas and New Year now, even though I didn't really podcast then. But it was very nice. My children went to their dad, and or the older two went to their dad. So Titus was here with us, and my friend Sharon came, and it was lovely. Yeah, for the rest it's been nice. We went into London on the Old Year's Eve, and with friends, just the adults, and that was lovely to get out for a little bit. And lots of people don't like the weather in England. I actually really quite like it. I know that's a weird thing to say, but I come from a very hot country, and I am a very fair-skinned person. And while I don't like being cold, because I can get cold quite quickly, I find that inside here it's actually much warmer because your houses have central heating, whereas in South Africa they don't. So while winter is shorter, it is fairly cold inside. Whereas here I don't find... I don't run the heating hot enough that you could walk around in a t-shirt and not need some sort of a layer on. But generally you're not absolutely freezing inside your house, which is quite nice. And yeah, I don't mind the cold actually. It's a great excuse to wear and knit more sweaters and knitwear. I definitely use my knitted stuff a lot more here. And I've actually realised that for some really cold days I need thicker scarves. Some of my shawls in fingering weight, even if you wrap them a few times, I think I really need to make some double knit shawls actually. So if anybody's got a really nice shawl that pattern that they use for sort of double knit, let me know. That might be the next thing I need to think about knitting. But I'm really enjoying knitting and wearing and making sweaters a lot more here, that's for sure. I also would like to make a biggish sort of coat cardigan thing. I've got one that I bought at a shop and I wear it quite a lot. It's sort of grey, longish, open, thicker coat kind of cardigan thing, and I quite like that. So I think that might be also what I'm thinking of making soon. My mother is coming to visit on the 6th of March. That's not too long away. One of my friends is moving from South Africa tomorrow. They fly out of South Africa tomorrow and we fetch them on Thursday. So we're going to be helping them settle in and all of that. So it's going to be quite nice to have them close by. And for the rest, we've just been sort of pottering along. I remember speaking to my mum on the phone the other day and she sort of said, well, what were we up to? And I said, well, very much the same as usual, you know. And I'm sure it's like that for most people. You know, a lot of the time it's get up, get the kids ready, do schoolwork, you know, whether you send them to school and you go to work, or whether they, like mine, which are homeschooled and I work in between, or whatever it is, and then you have all the extra, you know, sports things or whatever else, and play dates and whatever else is going on with the children, and then it's weekend, and then it's kind of like rinse repeat sort of thing, you know, do it all over again. But no, it's good. We are settling in very well. The children have all found sort of friends and activities and on all of these sorts of things. So on the whole, actually, I think we're pretty okay. I don't know, you guys probably wouldn't know. Oh, I mean, if you've seen on my Instagram, Rachel cut her hair again and donated it. I think this time it was much more of a case of she wanted to cut her hair than it was motivated like last time more by wanting to donate her hair. So she has cut her hair very short, and she's enjoying that. All the sort of things that go along with being a teenager, not wanting to podcast quite as much. So I know there are those of you that have asked to see her, and she's been doing a lot of drawing. She hasn't been doing a lot of yarn crafting at all, but she's been doing quite a lot of drawing. She's been getting into drawing with my dad. So she challenged my dad to do a drawing a week. I don't know if he's kept up, but she's certainly been drawing away. And the geek and I have got her into watching Doctor Who. So the geek hasn't watched either, and so we started at the 9th Doctor, you know, the start of the newer Doctor Who's, and so we've been watching that together in the evening. I don't know how you get the older ones, where you watch the older Doctors. I think apparently you can get some of them on Netflix. I need to go and have a look for that. And I don't know if some of them might look ridiculous given our special effects and stuff nowadays. It would just look very old. But part of me kind of feels like we do need to know what the previous Doctors were as well. And we're quite excited for when the new one for, you know, the new Lady Doctor comes out. That should be interesting too. So it's been quite nice to watch something with her. You know, if you can get your teenager to leave their bedroom half the time, it seems like a win. Anyway, so as I say, she's been doing quite a lot of drawing. So in the evening she'll often sit and draw while we watch TV as well. I will see at some point if I can persuade her to come and join us. But hopefully next time I podcast I will have a special guest visiting. Those of you that watch the Knit All the Things podcast, Cara came to visit us and to stay in was it end of Feb? No, we're still in February. January, the end of January. And she's going to come back for Titus's birthday at the end of the month. Titus is smitten with Cara and didn't really want her to go home at all. So she actually got on well with all the children, and she just fitted in really well. So it was lovely to have her for a visit, and so she's going to come back, which is going to be nice. And we're hoping to do a podcast then, so that will be quite exciting. But more about that when you see us next time. I think that's probably all. I know, like, most of the news is sort of Christmassy stuff, and that seems to be a bit silly now. So yeah, that's what I've been knitting. Not as much as I would like to, actually. The days and time and stuff seems to be getting in the way. But yeah, I finished up some of the Christmas stuff. And I did all the presents I needed to do, finished the geek socks, started a sweater for me, but I really must go back and get some of these whips sorted out and you know, get them off the needles so I can clear the way for some more projects. If you would like to test the Schrodinger's cat hat, or Schrodinger, I think it needs to just be Schrodinger's hat. I think the Schrodinger's cat hat is going to be a bit much. Let me know. Otherwise, show me what you're up to and what you're knitting, and we'll chat soon. All right then, bye.